Julian Habib, welcome to Electronic Music Life.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to Sydney.
Yeah.
We've been chatting for a long time on email and
I feel like it's like 10 years or something. Back and forth.
I know it's good to finally meet you in person.
Yeah.
Under this way, it's great. I mean, you've been living overseas as well for quite some time too, and
back and forth since like 2007,
wow.
I think. Yeah.
So you were in Berlin for a while?
Yeah, 2015, 16, we were in Berlin for like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Amsterdam.
That's right.
2008.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long were you in Amsterdam for?
About 2 years.
Right.
About the same.
Right.
Yeah, I came back around 2010.
Oh, and then you took off again.
Yeah, then I was like back in Melbourne for a few years and Adelaide and met my partner who's now my wife and yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, you've since we've connected online those many years ago, you even come and played for my party, but I wasn't there that time in Dubai.
That was cool actually, yeah.
Great.
It was an amazing buffet at that place.
Yeah.
Not to be like a fatty and want to talk about food, but like I was like in my element because it was just this. I was by myself the whole time, and then I was treated very nicely.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing about Dubai is they're not short on buffets.
The hospitality
is all
and the insane lift on the outside of the building. I'm like really afraid of heights.
Right.
So I remember like stepping out onto the glass because it's all like glass bottom and being like, oh my God, and looking at the inside of the building like, don't look out. And then the gig was like right at the top and I'm like staying at the bottom. Or no, the other way around, I think, I was staying at the top and then like the gig was in the basement.
Yeah.
I was like, why is the gig in the basement? It's like 60 stories down or something.
Wow. I can't even remember which venue it was. I'm sure.
VW Marriott or something.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. We were doing a bunch of events at the time then. My head went straight to Willy Wonka's glass elevator.
So it was like that. Yeah.
Oh, awesome, man. Well, look, I'm glad to finally meet you, and so since that time, like connecting, I've like seen, obviously, you've been releasing so much music, and you've been quite prolific actually. I went and checked out your Discogs today before we got to meet, and mate, it's quite amazing.
Yeah, Discogs doesn't even list like half of it.
Wow, hey, that's impressive, man. And I mean, over the years, you've worked with so many different producers, so many different artists and producers, and you've got this new project out now, this new album with all these amazing people on there. And we'll get to that in a sec. But I wanted to quickly chat to you about like some of the things that you're wanting to sort of work on over the next few years, and it's creating sort of spaces and platforms to I guess create opportunities for other artists and help build the music industry. Tell me a bit about what you're looking at doing.
Yeah, me and my partner Erin like always wanted to do a label. I did have a label, like 7 or 8 or even 10 years ago, but it wasn't entirely like my base. I'm so rounded in my influence from black music in general, like soul music in general. So we wanted to just have something that represents that, but also sort of represents the city that we come from or the country as well, but not strictly that as well. I've lived everywhere and had so many connections and met loads of amazing artists along the way that like don't have any music out or just need like a bit of a, share around the love and the network and stuff. Cause I think that's the same premise was afforded to me by other people. Like people are always so like music is like a universal language. So people really want to share that love around for the most part, like that there's people usually have good intentions. So I think that influenced me. We're in a community where we can all just like help each other out and share contacts and share angles and opinions and try and just get the music out there to listeners really.
Yeah.
I started in a tribe to do that. We've had like 30 releases out since the start of the pandemic or something, which has been like bang, bang, bang. Probably only 6 or 7 vinyl, but yeah, a lot of digital. I don't know. It's just like another side thing. I'm like, you know, as much as I love making music and those projects, like I'm just a music nerd anyway. You know what I mean? So I'm like, it's as exciting hearing someone else's new music as it is making my own new music. So I've just like, it's been an awesome outlet for that. I'm just loving hearing all this different stuff and helping get it out there. And there's no like, I don't really have like a restrictive sort of mentality for it either. I'll put out like anything as long as I like it. I'm not like it has to be in this pocket or whereas the last label that I ran with Benny Badge was more like boogie in that kind of drum machine music, which I love, but like, you know, I think we butted heads on the fact that he wanted to keep it in this stylized like lane where I was like, nah, let's put a jazz record out. Let's put a house record out. Let's put a hip hop record out. Whereas now I'm just like, whatever feels good.
And that's what Inner Tribe's about. Is
and you can see that like contrast, you know, we've got like, you know, a lot of the neo soul stuff is definitely like, it's there in a big base of it, you know, because that's like Erin's sort of influence, and the hip hop stuff, but like there's like house, broken beat, even now like reissuing like classic like Aussie hip hop as well, like just anything that we dig, you know, like and it being less about the constraints and more just about a good vibe. Yeah.
And being back in Adelaide, are you finding that is that where you're originally from?
Yeah.
Okay. That's how you know Moston.
Yeah, that's how I know Moston through Curo.
Yep, right on. Okay, make it on Betamax. Represent.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. So the going back to Adelaide and forming this new label now through the pandemic or before the pandemic?
So we were starting to get ready just before that hit.
Okay.
You know, like I had the first release about to come out when me and Eddie were on tour in the States, and that was when COVID had hit China.
Right.
And so like it was a few weeks after that it was planned to come out. And then all that business happened. We don't want to talk about that. But then I think that just gave us the momentum to push the label quicker because we were like, you know, trapped in our house.
Yeah, of course. That was kind of where I was getting at. So having that opportunity to focus on the label these last couple of years, that's pretty impressive. 30 releases in the space of 2 years. Do you think you would have done it otherwise?
I think it probably would have been a bit slower because if I'd still kept up the schedule of like touring and DJing and traveling more, then I have less time, you know. So I think now it's gotten in a swing where it's not taking as much of my time because the label sort of just like keeps clicking on and I'm, you know, as it is in the industry, I'm working like ahead of schedule by a good 6 months anyway.
That's
so the work's sort of already done. Yeah. But I'm like pretty happy with it. A few learning curves on the way, but like,
Well, you've worked with so many other labels before too, so you kind of understand a lot of the processes that are involved and how to improve on things that you've seen in the past. So is that where that like the focus in terms of creating opportunities and helping the industry and your peers and the people that you along the way, is that mostly through Inner Tribe? Or
like I'm not restricted by that. Like I do PR for people as well.
Okay.
And just like be kind of an everywhere man and try and help where I can, you know, like I've learned along the way to be like slightly more reserved with like how much I give to people, but I'm still like coming from a place of wanting to help. Think, you know, you got to keep your cup full as well at the same time. You can't just like pour it all out to help everyone. So I'm like just getting a balance of that between like my personal music and helping other people. And the label was a platform for that, but then I'm also helping people with other stuff. And at the end of the day, I just like care about good music. I don't really care about like any other attached stuff, you know, ego or scene stuff, because that's going to exist no matter what. But like I'm just, that's I guess that's how I'm trying to help. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you as if you've been in doing stuff for so long, you kind of learn about those boundaries and where to put your energy and it's not like, oh, well, I don't want to help, but it's also about self-care and your own. And so you're not your own projects and the things.
Plus, everyone has their own perspective of like what they're doing, and it's never going to match up. So like, you know, we're all just in this weird like human experience. So I don't know, you just like, not to like toot my own horn, but when you've been doing it for a long time, you get more like seasoned with your approach.
Yeah.
You know, to like make sure things are working in everyone's favor. You know, like you want to have the best result for things in the end, and then at the end of the day, it's about the music, not anything else. So all of the other stuff that comes along for the ride with that, with interpersonal stuff, you know, like trying to just learn to keep that in the background and just make it music focused. You know? Yeah. It's challenging with the restrictions of what's happened with like not being out as much and socializing in person. I think there's a lot of like social dynamic and barriers that like are dissolved quickly when you're in a room with someone. When everything's like email constantly, like we're in a whole new paradigm. Like it's totally weird.
It has changed, hasn't it?
As much as I love that and I live in email, like,
yes.
Still, I've definitely noticed like a difference. Yeah.
There's different dynamics now, isn't there? Yeah. I think it almost feels like we're learning a new way now that we can communicate again in our other ways. We're kind of putting on those training wheels
like,
again.
We're missing the nuances that we would like be accustomed to before, maybe a little bit. And like everyone gets so internalized for like a couple of years. So maybe it's just relaxing a little bit and just putting a bit more love out there, maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think finding it's like finding this new balance between that digital, because it is a different paradigm, as you said, and it's like finding this balance between both worlds again. But it's like we're entering a different dimension of it again now. Like it's re-evolved
into something, I guess, out of necessity. So I don't know. See where it goes from here, I guess.
Yeah. So have you got some new artists that you're working with at the moment, like that are coming out on the label?
I'm trying to rack my brain to remember what's happening. There's like, a young beat maker from Adelaide, A-Side 45, who has like a little EP. And we just did a thing like Dub Poets Collective with Tableek and Luwop. And some older, like more abstract hip hop stuff that I used to be down with a long time ago. Some guys I know that used to be on like Mush Records and Anticon. K the I, like he's doing an album for us. Yeah, I don't know. There's so much, man. I'd have to look into my calendar and notes because we're pretty much full into the middle of next year already with the rostering of, or scheduling, should I say, of when things are coming out. Yeah.
Right. And I wanted to find out a little bit more about like what you do when with, say, experimenting out of your comfort zone and what that looks like.
Yeah.
Sort of stepping outside of your box and how do you what are the things that you do to kind of keep you in check so that you aren't sort of keeping in the status quo of and sort of keeping things fresh for yourself?
Yeah, I'm ingesting a lot of music like constantly, and taking that in. I spend a lot of time just like listening to music or listening to the world around me. So I get very obsessive over like small little things and kind of just like rinse and repeat for a while, and it takes a while before that like manifests into my own music and what I'm doing, I think, if that makes sense. Like, like the new album, the Chasing Infinity record, I loosely had the intention of like making a record slightly poppier, but obviously like I'm not really capable of making pop music, but more like I still have like an admiration for people who aren't connected to a scene, like are just like listeners, like on a base level. So I wanted to be able to take my music into that realm more and make it digestible, but still have all of the qualities of what I do. So it's maybe not like experimenting like with equipment, or it's more like it setting an intention for me. Like that's how I make music. I don't really get caught up in like the technical experimentation side because I'm pretty comfortable with how I make the music. It's more just like trying to set like an intention or like a message or like an emotion behind things is, yeah. Does that make sense?
No, totally.
I kind of come at a project like, you know, it might be cliche to say now because everyone's talking about like wokeisms and but like manifestation. I picture the project and like put it in my head, even down to the artwork. Like I visualize it and then I just make the record. That's just my process. So, you know, that's how Chasing Infinity was made. I was just really blessed to be able to get bigger guests and bring the record like up that way. But irrespective, the record still would have happened with or without those names. I would have just found a way to get that end result.
Right.
Yeah. And I just finished another album too that's about to come out and it was the same, like just sort of had this intention. Yeah, that one's with Colonel Red. So we did like a whole record together that's coming out on Compost, German label.
Yep.
And like, do you remember the Owusu and Hannibal album?
Yeah.
Like that's one of my favorite.
One of my favorite albums ever.
It's like a pop record, but it's like an underground pop record. So like I knew that like me and Colonel could like make something not the same, but I was just like listening to that and listening to the techniques and immersed in that. And then more like, as I said before, take the intention like forward, like how can we make a digestible, like weird pop soul record? So that's what we've done. So
that's great. Yeah, well, I'm excited for that. Now you mentioned that album, because that Owusu Hannibal record was kind of like a one kind of, I wouldn't say a one-hit wonder, but like it came and never really heard much from them again after that.
I think
they did bits and pieces.
People say that though, but like Hannibal like went on to do like a lot of big pop music.
There we go.
I could already like hear that because he went and did Rye. Pop record Rye. That's all produced by him, and he produced on the Kendrick Lamar album, and like he went. Frank Ocean, like he went in that direction. Okay. So, but yeah, the singer, I don't think the singer did much more. But that album, man, like that whole era of like Ubiquity Records, True Thoughts, like all like, man, that's my shit, man.
It was a good time. That was
late 90s, early 2000s. Like there's like a period there, a golden era for me. Like, but as silly as that is to say,
I'm now inspired to go and hear that album again because I used to have it on repeat. Like
I still go back to that record a lot.
Great record. And so between music and your health, like finding that balance and using music as a source for healing and for your own health, like, is that been a process over time, learning how to kind of bring music into a way to for your own healing process? Like, tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, I definitely think like the connection between like health and music is pretty paramount for me. Like it's ebbed and flowed in, life has its ups and downs. So like I think at one point when I got my first like bit of buzz with my music and success, I was like back in party mode still. And my health probably suffered, even though like I've been health conscious for a long time, like even through hip hop, like hip hop actually, funnily enough, brought me to my health journey. I've been vegan for 20 years and like that was through listening to like KRS-One, Erykah Badu, like all this music that had like a health conscious element. And, I'm not as healthy now because I'm like, your metabolism slows down, you get older, but my habits are healthier, like going out of the scene for that long and like coming out the other end. Like, I don't really want to like party hard constantly. I still do occasionally, but like, I think finding like the point of health in the music and putting, as I said before, the intentions in that, like, there was gray areas there where you're getting caught up in just the vibe, maybe not the like intention setting too. So like maybe the health like sways to the side in the music as well. And I'm super happy to come back like to what inspired me originally. I think maybe that carries through too because I'm making more hip hop and I'm making like I still love club music, like don't get me wrong, like but I'm just making music now because it's like a necessary part of my life, you know, like it is my healing, it is my process, like I have to create and it's not out of necessity to succeed or anything. It's just I want to at the end of the day I'm just putting records out that I enjoy listening to. Like that's like a huge thing for me now, like and I think that's why it's just been like bang 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 like release it because I'm just like getting it out. I don't really best over ideas like I used to when I was like younger and insecure, or you'd spend like 2 years working on a song and it would never come out. Like I just like make something and pretty much everything that gets saved will end up coming out at some point. So, you know, and I want that process to like be carried through to the listener so they can heal off of it too, you know, get a good emotion out of it, get a good feeling out of it. But I think, yeah, that those connections are super important. And I think, you know, the lockdown thing made me self-reflect on that too. It's like really cool not to be touring and like DJing all the time. Like there's more to life, you know, there's more to like, as much as I miss that too now, having like a break. I'm really reveling in the idea of like going to bed early, waking up early, spending time with my kids and my wife and eating well and being in nature and
the intentions have shifted.
Yeah. But, you know, I still have like the drive and the urge to get back out there. And you know, even tonight, you know, I'm looking forward to playing music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, about the intention stuff like that, I think is, you know, when you're putting out music, the intention, you know, it brings a different purpose to the process. Like, and like you said, as you've evolved over time, you've gotten older and I guess wiser, and you've become more, and those are the intentions. They move like not that like, I guess it comes with age, I guess, or it comes with the years that pass by with as being a producer. But I've kind of noticed that as a, you know, with a lot of the people that I've been chatting with lately, and that is very similar sort of thing that's happened for a lot of people over the pandemic period is given us a different perspective.
I think it's just that internalizing, you know, like more time to think and stop, you know, like that's a big
pause.
Yeah.
Pause for a good cause.
A reset, as they like to call it.
Streaming and like I'd like to hear more about your thoughts on the pitfalls and the good things about streaming and this new age that we're in. And
I think my opinion of it now is very different to what it was. You know, with the old label I did, we were like pretty much all vinyl, and back then I used to just play records and it was very like keeping it real thing. But to be really candid and honest, I think it's all bullshit, and I just got caught up in like you with your mates, and it's important to the circle that's around you at the time. Do you know what I mean? And so there's a beauty to that as well, because it's like, you know, camaraderie and friendship and all that, but it also sometimes misses the point of like music is music, whether or not it's on a record or the wind blows and it makes music. You know what I mean? Like it's not. So now I just don't really care. Like I think at the end of the day, if there's a way for people to hear and experience and feel music, like I'm all for streaming. And we live in that shift now where like the digital has crossed over to the analog as well, and it's all like molded into one weird thing. I think, you know, there's a lot of this argument about streaming culture and Spotify not paying artists or whatever, but I think anyone who actually does the real number crunching, it's nonsense. Like it's absolute nonsense, because more music gets to more people on a larger scale. So obviously there's going to be a shift in where that money gets split up. And at the end of the day, the bad guy is still the 4 major record labels. It's not it's not the indie labels, it's not the consumer, it's not Spotify. Like it's also made it so young independent artists can make millions of dollars. And then it's also made high up artists that were successful broke.
Yeah.
Because it just means there's a shift in what we're listening to and what we're experiencing. You know, it's no longer like commercial music is the everything.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I think that's the root shock in the difference. And yeah, like, you know, think about before people would buy a record or a CD or whatever, and it generates a higher amount of income because you're getting a bigger piece of music. But like we were already on that decline with like CD singles, and we were already devaluing product.
Yeah.
You know, I think now there's more opportunity to have music heard and have it out there, I think, than ever. So I think that can only be a good thing. If we can envelope the whole world in more music, isn't that just like a beautiful thing? Like, how is that negative?
Yeah.
There's always going to be like people trying to make money off of stuff. You know? It's about how you harness that thing and make it work for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we still drive cars and know they're bad, and we still eat animal products, and we still use plastic, and we still like we're not perfect, and there's no point in trying to like make people all be idealistic, you know, like instead we're adaptable, you know, like that's how we should be, you know. And it's going to change again. Like it will be totally different. I'm sure in 10 years, you know, now it's all going into like TikTok and all these like social media, and everything's in smaller snippets and everything, like it's compressed and compressed and compressed. And I'm sure it will then open up again and go the other way like it does, you know.
If anything, it's like this, it's a fast pace of change.
Yeah.
And that's part of the adaptation. And I think people get caught up in, like you said, that negative.
Yeah.
But it's because I think it's because of change. And people don't like to change, and especially that so fast as well. Yeah. And it's always adapting.
Yeah, well, like people like, you know, I champion Bandcamp, don't get me wrong. I love Bandcamp, and I've got friends there, and they always support my music. But if you want to like break down the numbers, like Bandcamp technically takes more money than Spotify does.
Yeah, right on.
Well, like they're both just like great in their own way. You know what I mean? So I don't view any. I try not to attach any negativity to it. If you want to go back to like records, like it's like a horrible way to pollute the environment just to listen to music as well.
Yeah.
But then it's awesome because you get to hold a piece of music. So like where do you win, you know? I'm waiting for us to be able to just like send music psychically, and then it will be like, that will be awesome. And we won't need any of this. Just be like, I'm listening to, you know, John Coltrane right now.
That'd be pretty cool, man. I do appreciate this point that you're making here, because I think it applies in so many other areas of just in life in general. It's like, do we look at through life through a negative lens? You know, we can dissect things and go, well, everything's negative. Like, you know,
I think like black and white thinking like that doesn't work in any level, like
especially today.
Yeah, like we, you know, whether it's having an issue with streaming or even just having an issue with opinions is like another thing that's happened, polarizing of one. Like we just get stuck, our thinking gets stuck in one way. And unfortunately, that is the very manipulation we're criticizing. You know, so like, I think it's just like about what's going on in here, not out there. That's like a distraction. And the numbers game, like it's always going to be, man, I'm sure people in the 70s were thinking similar things about records and like, oh no, this is the end of this, or this, like, we just have to focus on being like open and put more love into things. I think that's like,
No, I like, because I saw something come up recently about like because if we look at the way we communicate and run business today, and it's really through a few key, we're molding our businesses and our industries around social media.
Totally.
And there's only how many platforms. Now, you can either complain about these media platforms and how they're controlling everything and right? It's the same principle, right?
Yeah, like, you can just get left behind too.
Exactly.
And that almost happened to me because like at the start of our scene, whatever that is, like I didn't really have a lot of my music on digital. And I think
that because of the way you felt about it?
Well, it's also because I didn't think it mattered. I was just like not paying attention. I was like, no, the DJ support and the direct fans support. And then in hindsight, like, because I remember being, you know, in Amsterdam 2010 or even earlier, 2008 or something, and one of those things coming out, whether it was Spotify, one of those streaming platforms, and all the people were starting to use it, and I was like, what is this? Like, I was already in, like, I didn't mind online. I could buy the digital file. I could listen to an online radio. That's fine. But I just like ignored it. And my profile as an artist, I think, suffered. Like if I had all my music up there at that time, you think about like what it would be like now, because it was like, it took me a few years to go, okay, this is like a
I better catch
necessary
up.
evil, you know. And the whole thing shifted now. Now I think about that like first.
Yeah.
You know, so things change.
Yeah, yeah. It's not to say that everyone needs to create like, everyone needs to be and talking to the camera. And,
no, I'm not necessarily like a very extroverted person in that sense. You know, like I did a little behind the scenes beat making thing on my Instagram for the first time.
That's fun.
But like I don't have the intention of becoming like a creator and like constantly, because I'm a creator in my own way, but it's all just ways to express ourselves. So I don't see any negativity in it. Yeah.
Is that something that you'd like to do down the track, is kind of sharing more production?
I'm not going to say yes or no because I don't really know like where. You know, I'm also one of those people that think social media is horrible. But as I said before with the streaming argument, it's you can utilize something in a positive way. So I'm not like, it's more me personally, you know, like I sometimes need a gap or a break from that, but I still see like positivity in it and negativity too. So,
yeah. You mentioned veganism and breathwork and trying to get my breathwork and meditation. Have these been part of your life for a while? Like these kind of modality or techniques, modalities, or
after me and my family, like my wife and kids, moved back from Berlin
to Adelaide.
No, we went to Melbourne first.
Okay,
this is like 2017.
Okay,
and we were like, you know, we've always been into like holistic whatever. So we were doing some yoga at this place, and they introduced me to breathwork, and I met a practitioner there called Jitwam, who became a friend of mine. He passed away, unfortunately, but met another guy through that. He's a rapper called Illuminati Congo, and he's very like into the mystic, not like he's just on that. He's on that tip, like, you know, holistic MC healer. I'm not like as far on that. I just, those things are for me. They're not like, or to help other people. It's not my identity. But
sure.
I got really into breathwork.
But I do find that with both you and your partner, you both have like quite an earthy kind of vibe going on in your music.
It's not intentional. Maybe it's
beautiful.
Just like,
I like it.
I think it's just showing like being confident in who we are.
Yeah.
You know, like breathwork definitely like changed my life.
Wow.
Because, you know, I'm not going to get all personal, like my upbringing, like, you know, I had issues with my parents or whatever, and my dad raised me. My mum had, issues with dependency and stuff, and she's all good now. We're good friends, but like breathwork, you know, we have trauma as human beings, even if we don't go through those things. And for me, that was just like an incredible way of releasing trauma, because there's only so much like psychology, psychiatry, counseling you can do, because we only know what's right here in our head. We don't know what's deep down.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think breathwork is rebirthing is what it's called. That style of breathwork is about unlocking trauma that is like subconscious. So like you go do this session, you think, who are all these weird people breathing heavy and like, what's this doing? And then like random thoughts enter your head about something that happened when you were 3 years old, like one time.
Yeah.
That you never ever thought
it's locked
about.
Away there.
It's like pulling that out. And that can be like really confronting. I think, in hindsight, like that's the negative side of rebirthing, because there's different modalities of breath work. And that changed my life and made me like get over these hurdles, but then it also brought up all this other stuff. And I went into like a deep depression at one point in 2017 surrounding those issues. And I was scared to do breath work again, because I was like, whoa, what's this going to – it's like people do ayahuasca. And And then if you don't have someone who knows what they're doing there to guide you through it, like you're messing with something bigger than you. You know, like, and that's maybe what I got out of rebirthing. I'm probably going on like 100 segues here trying to talk about this.
No, this makes sense.
It wasn't until last year that I found heart-centered breathwork.
Nice.
So there's all these different modalities.
Yeah.
That, you know, like obviously commercially, like there's Wim Hof.
Yep.
Who does like the fast breathing and it's more endurance-based. People go in cold water and that's cool. Like I dig that too. But like for me, it was coming more from like a spiritual place.
And trauma informed, it sounds as well.
Yeah, and like heart-centered breathwork is like guided breathwork, like with a practitioner. And there's no one's trying to fix you. No one's trying to heal you. It's like you're there and they're guiding you through the process and it's gentle and you're setting an intention beforehand. And so I'm a practitioner in that as well now. Like that's like a side thing.
Yeah, cool.
I don't know. That's just something that's helped my life. I'm still not like 100% at the end of my journey of healing. I don't think anyone ever, but I'm not like, I have the intention of maybe like being a practitioner in the public space like when I'm ready to be.
Yeah, cool.
But I still want to like learn more and I still want to experience more. And like it carries on just like running my label. Like, you know, I tried to master my craft before I started a label.
Yeah.
So with this, maybe I'll try and master it more before I.
Yeah.
Well,
look, it first of all, I would say it's definitely helped with your music production and as well. Like,
and it's, you know, breaking those like shackles of like identity and where you try, like, you know, we get so caught up in like popularity and all that. And I'm very internal with that kind of stuff, and being in Aries, like I can be quite paranoid. It's part of my star sign, whether or not you believe in that, but like, it's great with that because I'm trying to detach from like ego and that, because that's especially in independent underground music, because everyone wants to try and like, it's very important, special to everyone.
That's right.
Their heart's in the good place, but like I think
staying authentic.
You get clouded at the same time because like it's the reaching the top is only a short walk, and like how do you stay there? You know what I mean? Like how do you? So everyone becomes quite competitive, and you know, even in the scene, even in scenes that paint this picture of like this beautiful like idyllic thing, there's still like human behavior in every paradigm of everything. So, and that's still going to continue. I'm not saying we're going to like change anything like that, but like definitely helps me with that. You know, like I'll probably, when things happen that don't go my way, I obviously initially have the like human reaction of like, oh man, but I'm better at working through that quickly now. Yeah. Because like I know that like it's an illusion too. Like, it's not like
I find that once you kind of understand your traumas, and that's what being trauma informed is, you kind of know what are those triggers, and you know what you like, how you operate. Totally. And you know how to walk forward with
and
them.
like we're modeled on like our upbringing, like even when it's positive, like things create like a expectation and a structure of how we perceive the world. And like there's even positive trauma that comes out of that, because you're shaped in a box of how you think. And so even when someone hurts you or does the wrong thing, it's still okay and totally fine what they did as well. I think that's a big learning curve. It's okay for someone to feel like, even if you can't comprehend why they're feeling that, that's fine. So like I think that's it's just like
being more compassionate.
Just being compassionate and being forgiving and like loving and putting your heart out there. It's like at the end of the day, like I think I'd rather be remembered for someone doing that than like, you know, in the past I've been the opposite. I'm more like, you get your ego hurt and you're like, man, everyone's against me. Like, why isn't this person supporting me? Why? Like, well, that's just like, that's identity politics too, maybe, isn't it? Like society, I don't know. But to go back, like breathwork's definitely helped. And I need to do it more. Like it reminds me when we have these conversations, like, you know, I'm still a habitual person caught in how I was before. I knew about that too.
Oh, thanks, dude. That was really nice to hear about that. Let's talk about your album, this new album and the new one coming out as well. We'll go back to that. First of all, like, I mean, I know you've worked with so many amazing people, and I've even on my travels, I've heard your name pop up so many times. And we have a lot of, sort of friends in common. And So, and this new record, like, man, like, tell me about it. Like, you've got all these great people on there. It must have been a real dream to be able to work with everyone on this project.
Yeah, it's just one of those funny things of like being open to what's happening with the universe or whatever, or what's like presented to me. So I've obviously already done like lots of other albums and had great like success or whatever from those, and you know that's something I'm super grateful for. But this record, my friend Matt runs this label Cosmo Cities in France, and it's still a new label. You know, it's still like only had a few releases, and I don't know. He just like really was keen to do a record, and I just lockdown was like a good time. I was already working on ideas and demos and stuff, and I pretty much like in the last like 10 to 15 years, probably 10 actually, like because me and Erin have been together 10 years. Like she really like is my muse in that sense. Like we bounce off of each other with music, and I don't actually think I would have become as successful or motivated if we weren't together like that. Like I help her like, you know, do production, and she helps me because she can play instruments or come up with concepts, and we just bounce off of each other. And this is just like another one of those projects. Like I'll come up with like little ideas, and then she'll like add her bit, and we'll go back and forth. And that's more in the production and the writing and composing stage, and the guests kind of flow on later, you know, like I pretty much like have to pinch myself because I didn't really, you know, well, we had Amp Fiddler and like SpaceX and stuff, and they're like heroes of mine, but like they're more achievable. They're like, you know, because they're existing in the underground community still. So it started as a record with those people, but then the label was kind of like, who's your dream? This. And so I'm throwing these names out there, and I'm still underselling myself. I'm still like, you know, and they're like, no, like how can we get like this record like? So, you know, I'm throwing like Talib Kweli and Mos Def out there and thinking, man, this isn't going to happen. Like, what are you talking about? But at the same time, you know, I grew up like listening to Black Star and Mos Def and all that 90s hip hop. So maybe I manifested it too.
Yeah.
I was like thinking about that, putting the good intention out there, and you know, things just like dreams come true.
Oh, mate, I got it copied just a few days ago, and I got to hear some of it through Sharif Galal.
Yeah, cool.
And I believe we're going to be airing this interview on his Sweet Grooves station.
Okay,
it's
I kind of like connected with him like a few years ago because I remember his like Triple J show, like because when I was a little kid, like radio was sort of like Spotify now. Like you still had to like the formative years for me is listening to like his show and the old hip hop show.
Mm-hmm.
And then in community radio in Adelaide, like Madcap and Kuro used to have like a hip hop show, like all those things. I was just like nerding out, like, and then going to school the next day super tired because I'd be up at like 1 in the morning listening to radio.
Like my childhood, my 90s. I used to sit up listening to the Groove Train. Even basically when all of them, Andy Glitcher, rest in peace, and there was and Stim Ferris, and they all had. All those guys were
it was it was sort of just a part of doing that. Yeah. I miss that actually, like that curation kind of. I guess it exists now in like other realms, like online radio stations.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was definitely, I still have some tapes too.
Yes.
And sometimes I listen to them like, wow, like, I remember the feeling I had when I listened to this. Like that's sick.
Yeah, no, I was the same here. I 2SER as well in the 90s was my go-to Monday nights. Prince Andrew with the reggae, and there was the Mothership Connection on Tuesdays. I used to listen to that all the time. These were like my go-to shows, you know, and the Groove Train were like where that was my. Yeah,
I think I probably had the equivalent thing. Yeah, and then the national one was listening to that. Yeah, crazy.
Well, mate, so the album's out now.
Yep. Yeah, so I think maybe like 3-4 weeks ago it came out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's been doing really good, and I'm super happy with it. The label's handled it really well. Yeah, I don't know. Just happy to have it out there into the universe. And it's cool, like, having slightly bigger names, like seeing people that wouldn't normally hear my music hear it. That's really humbling too.
Yeah. I was in the car a couple of days ago, and oh wow, what's this? And then I Shazammed it. I'm like, oh my god, that's the same record. That's great, man.
Nice.
Yeah, good on you. And you mentioned earlier the Colonel Red album as well.
Like,
is that a full album? That one, the one with Compost. That's exciting. Compost
super excited for that.
Legendary label.
I don't know if you remember like Kindred Spirits, Dutch label. I think 2000 and now I'm like not remembering when, but when I lived in Amsterdam, I met like Casey the Funkaholic, and him and Antal, who owns Rush Hour, had Kindred Spirits. And like the first parties I was playing at in Amsterdam were Boogie Bash, which is also the label that my first like solo thing came out on. And then I met Kid Sublime, who became one of my best mates. And I don't know, it snowballed from there. But around that time, my point was there was the artwork on all the Kindred Spirits releases is this design duo called Machine. And they had like a book out and everything. It's kind of like Para, there's all these different Dutch. The Dutch have like that on lock. They're just amazing like graphic designers. And so we got Machine for this. So that's like ticking off these little personal box. It doesn't mean anything to anyone else. But like, we got the Machine artwork.
No, I like that.
I used to be a graffiti writer too. So like I'm always like visualizing.
You like to bring it together.
The visual is important.
Bring it together.
It's the package.
Connect the dots from your past.
Totally, it probably means nothing to anyone.
No. But you kind of want to bring
it makes me feel like I created what I put the intention into, those little things all come together and it creates something like special. So
awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited about that record.
And when's that due?
The first single's, what date is it? It's the 10th of June, is it? First single's first week of July. So it's like we're going straight to the next albums. Yeah. And then I've got another album after that. So
yeah. No, look, I think when we first connected, it was in the early 2000s. Well, like pre-2010. I know I was working in distribution at the time. So I was very fortunate to be working with a lot of these labels, and I was helping promote a lot of these. The Owusu Hannibal, I was looking after Ubiquity Records for a couple of years. Those it's great to hear these names come up, and Compost are still like a power force.
They're still putting out cool music.
Great label. Well, mate, where is a good place for the listeners and the viewers to find out more about Inkswel?
Like in the mind. All those silly things. Instagram, Spotify, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I'd be on every one of those things. Yeah. These days with the way distribution networks work. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the links I'll add to the description on the notes, so you can all go and check them out there. Cool. Thanks again.
Thanks, man.
It was awesome to chat with you, man.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Cheers.